how important is it, do you think, that, you know, governmental level regulatory, you know, bodies that will start to understand actually that they've really got to sort of disentangle some of this kind of stuff? You know, we know that actually in the US it's really, really tough, whereas actually in other parts of the world, legal regulation enables these types of things to happen in completely different ways, and that could really kind of be, you know, a pivotal point in terms of where innovation comes from and how it's funded. As I have my own personal view on this, but I mean, I'm very interested to hear what you
that's a hot spot for me. I mean, clearly, I agree with you, and clearly, it is so clear to me that I have no question that it's going to happen. So you know, so my world is that it will happen. The question is when. It's not going to happen. The political situation in the U.S. is such that it's not going to happen tomorrow, as it was the current banking bill almost knocked out angel investing altogether by elevating the accredited investor status to $5 million. And so the interesting thing about that was this one line in the Dodd banking bill said, oh, we're going to increase the accredited investor status to $5 million, where all of a sudden every angel investor, wait a minute, that'll knock out 80% of the angel investors in the U.S. And hello, in Congress, do you know what you're doing? To which their response was, what's an angel investor? Yeah. So finally, after, no, we didn't mean that, right? So finally, after that got changed back, the sort of angel industry now is saying, well, yeah, maybe it wasn't such a bad thing that they tried to kill us because they didn't realize they were killing us. Now they at least know the term. But eventually it will change, I think slowly, but I think you're looking within 5 years. That's my guess.
Only 5 to 10. Only I think it's 5 to 10% of total capital invested in new businesses every year comes from venture capital and angels. I mean, we're kind of talking about such a niche here, and it's kind of the elephant in the room. Like 80 to 90% of capital comes from people, their savings accounts, they're refinancing their mortgages, credit card debt, because most companies are not these VC-backable stuff. That's the engine of our entire economy here. And I know we're focused here on technology.
That was going to be my question. Is what about the market that matters, which is not the one that's going to return a VC's fund, but the one that's going to return, you know, 10 stable jobs, 100 stable jobs, 1,000 stable jobs that may not ever require VC funding.
Right, and when people can invest in their cousin's friend's restaurant and put $1,000 in for profit, and he can put it up online, and they can do it in a legal way. That's not legal right now.
So
I think Jenny should jump here.
Yeah, you're focused on projects, and I know what your returns look like. What do you expect in terms of percentage of deals that look like they'll go VC versus the rest of the market, which is most of the market? Yeah, right? How?
Are you taking me?
But, well, you're operating in this space where you've already said that you've got a bunch of people who take a little bit of money and they go see. Your site clearly states go for public capital, right, as opposed to private, and I can only assume at $100 you're talking about non-VC funded businesses. So I'm curious what your expectations are around how big is that market? How many businesses are out there? Who's not funded because of those limitations?
Well, if you just think about the average person in this country, what choices do we have about where we can put our nest egg? Incredibly few. I mean, I would much rather take some of my nest egg and put it in the restaurant owned by the cousin of my friend that I know is a really good restaurant. I know it's going well, but I cannot do that. Occasionally there are ways that it can be done, like Indiegogo is one way that it can happen at times, but generally speaking, it just cannot be done. And we're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars that has to go into these mutual funds of publicly traded companies. We have no choice to put it into something else that we might feel better about. So if we could loosen up some of that money, I mean, it's a huge market failure, because if you look at the number of companies that cannot take money from 98% of the population, it's a huge number. I mean, it's probably about half of the economy. So about 2% of the population can invest in what's half of the economy. That's a huge market failure, and I think I have so many clients that they would have no trouble raising money from friends, fans, customers, but it's illegal for them to do it. So I'm not worried at all about the availability of capital. I'm just worried about the regulations that prevent it from flowing where it should be going.